Let's make an eco-friendly wreath with the Allegan Conservation District. The first thing you're going to need are some grapevines. I fortunately have some growing in my backyard, so I trimmed them. You can trim them at different lengths depending on how big you'd like your wreath. We also had pruned our pine trees, so I had all these pine branches to choose from for decoration to put onto my grapevine wreath. To start, you're going to need some scissors, twine, and of course your grapevine. If you didn't just trim that grapevine, you're going to want to soak it in water for 24 hours. This will make it nice and soft, especially if you're making smaller wreaths. Then cut your twine into different lengths, but pretty much 5 inches long is what you're going to want. You can always trim it off later. Bend it and start double knotting that twine around the grapevine. As you're doing this, you want to weave the grapevine in and out of itself. Sometimes you attach, sometimes you weave in and out. We're almost there. Keep tying that twine and winding that grapevine. Once you have your grapevine wreath done, you want to get those evergreen trimmings and start figuring out how you want them to lay onto that wreath. I like mine to go all in the same direction. Sometimes those vines will have some pieces that stick out that just are not working with what you're doing with your wreath, and that's okay to just trim those off. Leave a few if you'd like I am. And then just continue to tie on your pine. Of course, I'm double knotting this with the twine. And voila, our wreath is done. Now we're going to decorate it. Let's gather some pine cones. I like to choose pine cones that are similar sizes and that are nice and straight and clean, of course. It's time to decorate those pine cones. Get your brown parchment paper. You can always put that in your compost when you're done. Scissors and your twine. I'm using some local honey and some wild birdseed. I like to attach my twine to the pine cone before I put the honey on. Just wrap it around the little prongs from the pine cones. Catch the twine, very easy. It stays in place, and trim the twine. The honey I am using is whipped, so it's a little easier to use, but you want to make sure to cover each side of the pine cone with this. A nice thin coat is what you want. Waste not, want not. Make sure to use any drippings on the parchment paper. Wipe those up and wipe them on the pine cone. And it's time to sprinkle that bird seed. Let it dry. Now it's time to tie those decorated pine cones onto your wreath. Take the twine, find a strong part of the grapevine, and double knot that on there. I even added a few ribbon scraps for the birds to use for their nests this winter. Now I just need to find a place to hang it. Thanks for joining me.